Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today we have got another Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 Prestige Class video for you. And today, from the Complete Warrior, we're going to be looking at the Justiciar. Or Justiciar, however the heck you pronounce that. I'm not entirely sure on that. So anyways, the Justiciar. Well, it is a... we're going to talk about what they are. We're going to talk about how you go about getting in. Then we're going to talk about what they get. And then we're going to talk about how good they are and how you might potentially use them in a build. So let's get started with it. So first off, the Justiciar. What are they? Well, they are lawmen, and also they are bounty hunters. Their job is to catch the bad guys and bring them to justice. They're not the judge, jury, and executioner. No. They are the guys who make sure those guys have work. They're the ones who are bringing the criminals to them so that they can pass judgment as they see fit. Because those guys aren't particularly good at that. In modern times, the Justiciar, they're the police. That's their role. Their role is capturing the bad guys and bringing them in. Usually alive if possible. So that's basically their job. That's basically what they are. So let's talk about what it takes to become a Justiciar. Well, first off, you got to be lawful. I mean, these are lawmen and bounty hunters. Even bounty hunters have to follow strict rules. Like they can go a little bit looser, but still. Base attack bonus +6. It is a martial class. Skills. So it requires 5 ranks of gather information, search, and survival. Which makes some sense since you're tracking down the bad guys. And feats, skill focus, gather information, and track. Track does mean rangers are the best for getting into this, and there's a few reasons why rangers are kind of better for this one. Yeah. So let's talk about what they get. So they get a D10 hit dice, which is nice. So good, D10. That's solid health. They get good base attack bonus, which is nice. Skills are actually pretty good with 4+ int, with a pretty nice list to go with it. Now they have a good will save, but a bad fortitude and reflex, which is interesting. And they also are going to get a number of special things, which some of these are actually pretty interesting. So the first off is bring them back alive, which basically just means they are capable of doing non-lethal damage at no penalty with pretty much any weapon, literally any melee weapon. So you want to, whack them with a greatsword for non-lethal, yeah, you can do it, no penalty. Same with any melee weapon you can think of. Pretty nice in all honesty. I think it does require melee. Yeah, melee. It does specify. Just making sure. So you can't do it with a ranged weapon, but melee weapon, yeah, 100% can use non-lethal force at no penalty. They also get an ability called non-lethal strike. So anytime they're using that, so anytime they're dealing non-lethal damage instead of dealing lethal damage, they basically get a form of sneak attack. It's a non-lethal sneak attack. It has like all the same requirements as sneak attack. Plus, it does have the requirements of you have to be doing non-lethal damage. But it does an extra 1d6 points of non-lethal damage, which is kind of nice. You get this just little extra bit, and that does go up. It'll go up to +4, so 4d6 eventually by 10th level. Goes up every 3 levels, but it does start at first, so yeah. Which isn't bad, you get that extra bit of damage to try and knock them out faster. Yeah, it's pretty nice in all honesty. There's a few more, requirements to it because, some things are immune to non-lethal damage, so they'd be immune to this, because, yeah, plus anything that's immune to sneak attack. So, yeah, it's a little more restricting. This class is definitely better for for going against humanoids, although it can do a few more things besides that. They also get improved grapple as a bonus feat, which is really nice and really helpful for what they're going to get for one of their best class features. Next up, they get Crippling Strike. So anytime that they do their non-lethal strike, they also are going to do 1 point of strength damage. Anytime non-lethal strike applies, they do 1 point of strength damage for every single attack. No save, no nothing, you just 1 point of strength damage, which isn't a lot, but it can add up, especially when you're doing it on every single strike and you're potentially getting, multiple strikes per turn. Especially if you're like dual wielding, you can really get add those up fast and really weaken someone quickly. You also get exotic weapon proficiency Manacles, which is an interesting one. Basically, you can use Manacles as if they were a martial weapon, basically. Or you can use them as an exotic weapon, which normally they're an improvised, but they get it as an exotic. And they actually say that they can be like masterwork Manacles count as like a masterwork flail, which is pretty nice. I think regular ones just count as a club, but still, that's pretty cool that they can like beat people up with Manacles, which are handcuffs. So you just smack people around with basically handcuffs, but like way thicker. Yeah. They also get Street Savvy, which basically just lets them. Sorry, this one was one of the less important ones, so that just basically ups their gather information. Get a little bonus to that. Yeah. Now for one of the more interesting ones, Hog Tie. Hog Tie is a fun one. So this one can only be done on humanoid-shaped creatures. And it does say shaped, so it's not humanoids. So this would include pretty much all humanoids, pretty much all monstrous humanoids, pretty much all giants. It does also mention outsiders. However, of course, that's not going to be all outsiders. There's a number of outsiders that won't qualify, like pretty sure, what is it? The Hellcat, or I'm pretty sure Hellhound or whatever it was. Pretty sure they're not going to qualify because they're bipedal. They're definitely not humanoid shaped. Now elementals are kind of questionable whether they'd work. The book doesn't really specify any of this, but yeah, it just says humanoid shape, and it does say it does list outsiders as a type that would commonly qualify, which I would agree it would. Like most angels would qualify, most archons would qualify, most devils would qualify, most demons would qualify, the inevitables would qualify. Heck, a lot of the chaotic outsiders like titans would qualify. There's a lot of things that qualify, but like elementals are like, I don't know if I'd say that's more of a DM call on that one. Bipedal things like I think it's the Hellcat. Yeah, they're not gonna qualify because like they're shaped like a lion. No, that's not gonna work. But yeah, lots of things are gonna qualify. Anyways, now that I'm not talking about what qualifies, we got off on a slight tangent there. So let's talk about what this actually does. Basically, once you've pinned somebody, you can, as one of your options for pinning them now, you can choose to hog tie them, which means you can use an action to use rope in order to make a use rope check against their grapple or escape artist check in order to tie them up helplessly, which is pretty nice. Normally, to do that, you'd have to spend a full minute to tie somebody up. These guys can do it in like an action, which is really, really nice. They're really fast at tying someone up, and they can do it with manacles too. However, they do need to have their manacles or rope or whatever they're using in their hand while pinning them. So that is a requirement, at least for now. Then, of course, once they reach 8th level, they get improved hog tie. Like I said, at least for now, because now they can hog tie anyone that they have pinned as an attack action. And if you have the quick draw feat, which you probably should get for this, you don't even need to have it in your hand. You can just, you can just pull it out and basically, throw that on there from your pocket as part of your attack action and take them down. And it's an attack action, not a standard action, meaning you could do this as part of a full attack. So this could be one of your attacks in a full attack. So if the previous attack in your full attack was used to was used to grapple somebody, you can then use the next attack in that same full attack action in order to then hog tie them up. So theoretically, you could, with a full round action, attack somebody twice with your weapon in order to get your non-lethal attack in and do a decent amount of damage and lower their strength by 2 from the 2 attacks. And then go in and use the other 2 in order to grab them and tie them up. All in the same turn. If you're, using multiple weapons, heck, you could even get multiple attacks with that, especially if you have are using Manacles as your weapon instead of using the quick draw. If you just use the Manacles as a weapon, which isn't a bad option for these guys, they can smack them around with the Manacles and then, tie them up that same turn. Pretty nice option in all honesty, especially if you're wielding a pair of Manacles in each hand. You can do some pretty crazy stuff with that. Especially if you take a lot of those 2-weapon fighting feats, you can be pretty good with that. Anyways, you also get intuition. So basically, when you're hunting a particular person, anyone that you've ever fought, you can make a survival check to see their general direction if they're within a mile of you. The DM should make this check, by the way. The book does specify that. And you can do this with you can do this once a day, and you can do this with every single person once per day. So each person can only be once a day, but say there's 8 people you want to track down, well, you can make 8 checks, 1 for each person. Or if there's 600 people, yeah, great, you can make 600 of them. It is a supernatural ability, which means it would be a standard action. However, this is typically something you're not doing in combat, so that doesn't matter a ton. Although if you're trying to track 600 people, it does a little bit because, you only get 1 standard action a turn, so you're looking at 600 turns, which is a while. I think that's an hour. I believe that's actually exactly an hour. So you'd have to spend an hour doing that if you wanted to track 600 of them, which, is a little crazy in all honesty. It's probably going to be a much more reasonable number. So you'll only spend a couple of minutes probably. But yeah, you can do that once per day, which is not bad if you're searching for people, especially if you've got a large list. Odds are one of them is going to show up. And they do have a multi-class note that paladins who enter this class can continue advancing as a paladin. So it is compatible with that. So that's nice. So that's what they get. Let's talk about how good they are. I would say, assuming that they're fighting compatible types like humans, humanoids, various things like that, that would work. The hog tie ability would even work against a lot of other types. I'm pretty sure it would work against a lot of undead too, undead that was formerly type that could be hog tied because it's still humanoid shaped. However, those would of course not be valid for the non-lethal stuff. But still, speaking of which, going against things that are immune to non-lethal, undead and constructs, these guys are going to suffer. They're not particularly great at fighting that kind of stuff. They'd have to resort to their lethal methods, which they're fine with. There is nothing in this class that says they can't do lethal damage. They get nothing that helps with lethal damage, really, other than just that good base attack bonus and weapons that can do lethal damage. It's just they can't use their class features. They're the better ones. They can't use their bring them back alive, bring them back alive just makes things non-lethal, and they can't use non-lethal strike or crippling strike. So you can't use that if you're doing lethal damage. But other than that, they're perfectly capable of it. They just prefer to use non-lethal when possible. So that's not a problem. So yeah, they can take down these things. Heck, they can even use lethal force on characters that are prone to non-lethal strikes if they want. But typically they won't, just because they do better without. So yeah, that's So yeah, they're pretty solid. They're really good at doing non-lethal damage. If they're trying to capture someone, these guys are one of the best classes in the game at capturing enemies. They're really good at it. They're designed to capture. So they're top notch. You might see some mages that are pretty good at that too, but aside from that, these guys are one of the best. It's like magic. There's so much you can do with magic. Yeah, there's a lot of spells that would be pretty good for that. Like, yeah, uh, like what? Anyways, but aside from that, these guys are really good at that, and just a they're just a really solid class. They have their weaknesses, like I say, undead and constructs. They struggle with. They're not going to be able to like hog tie a dragon or something. That's just not going to work. There's a number of monsters that aren't going to be able to be captured. Although a lot will, like orcs and goblins are all perfectly fair game. So a large number of monsters are going to be capturable with Hogtie. Pretty solid class all in all. It's got its weaknesses. Certain things it's not so great at, but a large majority of creatures it's going to be able to fight fairly effectively. Just a pretty solid class all in all. It's not exactly the best prestige class in the game, but it's pretty good. And if if you really want to capture things alive, this is really the way to go. Anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. That really helps me out a lot. Maybe subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, because I do one on every class, race, and prestige class in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. Maybe ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video. But anyways, as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you.